Um, Format of universal basic income is indeed critical. Um, what Yang is proposing is really universal credit, as with what the UK, United Kingdom, now has. Um, the format of universal basic income that I want to see is an actual livable wage, okay, which is to say a livable level for everyone. Um, this would include money for rent. This would include money for all utilities. This would include money for transit, um, all over the country, for food, okay, to get things like your toiletries, not need to worry about uh, can I go to the dollars, do I need to go to the dollar store, or can I maybe try an actual local business, at least sometimes, to try to, help so and so out in terms of my friend or my neighbor, and actually help to build their business. And this is, by the way, one of the problems that the poor often have in terms of trying to do sustainable, is that if they don't do everything themselves, they're kind of stuck at the dollar store. They're stuck at the Walmart because everything is indeed more expensive. And it's an engineered construct as to why that occurs. Um, but the universal basic income would be about 2,500 or 2,580, which would be the 15 an hour. Okay, it would allow for the fight for 15 of a 15 an hour minimum wage to exist all over the United States, because currently it would be a little bit too much for a small business owner in one of the flyover states to support that, because if it's them, their spouse, and they co-own the business, and then they only have 1 to 2 employees, if we're really talking about already small margins, then even though we're not thinking about necessarily a drastic lift in the minimum wage, it would still be quite possibly enough to really hurt them. So by giving everyone this floor, it would enable them to then pay that 15 an hour. It would enable that offset to occur so that they can in turn pass it on and still keep their margins for their small business. I'm not a protectionist, but a certain amount of safety is needed. Beyond that, though, 2580 for a national standard. There need to be both regional cost of living top-ups in some areas, like New York City, like Los Angeles, California, like San Francisco, California, where the cost of living is super high, and where already tremendously sized, most at least sizable percentage government funded homeless shelters and other quote unquote hybrid aid programs exist. And wherever this exists, and indeed the cost of living is that high, the money should be diverted from those programs to the top-ups for that higher cost of living. Another top-up, though, that needs to be included is for disabilities. Okay, folks with disabilities, the cost of living is a little bit higher because of things like the need for adaptive equipment, which it's technically not medical in terms of direct, but it's still nonetheless a need. And therefore, and one great example is the concept of paratransit that's available, especially in most metro areas, is that it costs extra, to get door-to-door service where there is an existing public transit system for a paratransit door-to-door or an extra paratransit card system. And therefore, in those areas where you would have to pay extra, you need the extra money to be able to afford that. But beyond that, there's just so many other adaptive things that are needed on a more day-to-day basis. Often a lot of adaptive tools will be used for cleaning up your home. But again, and in other cases, it'll just be things that you'll do to adapt your lifestyle that will indeed cost more. But the critical thing, though, again, is that this be indeed universal, which is to say, yes, rich, middle class people, they should indeed get it too, in part because abuse, at no matter what level of income you are in families, it occurs. And if you take away the universality of that, then all of a sudden you cut out that window, that ability for people in other classes that would otherwise have that limited on the means testing concept. Me and many folks in my ilk, it's like, I don't care if the Gateses of this world get an extra drink, okay? If one of their extended family members is being abused, guess what? I'm fine with the abuser in that situation, whomever it may be. Again, I'm not accusing Gates of abuse himself. I'm saying any one of his income threshold, they should be able to, family members should be able to have that cushion to be able to get up and leave. And not worry about the concept of, will I have enough money to survive and get the basics? Okay? Beyond the fact that, frankly, a lot of richer people, and even in the middle scales, they still have ways of retribution, many of them. Okay? But at least give that person a chance to leave. So there really is that. And so it really is important, again, that it be high enough to truly live. It really is enough that, that it be universal, that it be basic, that it indeed cover every single thing at a long-term rate of living. One of the things about, and I'm not certain how big of an awareness this is that disability takes a long time to receive, and it's often denied a whole bunch of times. On the one hand, that needs to be reformed, but at the same time, it can have some time to take effect, even if that's the 3 to 4 months of getting to the proper doctor and waiting for that paperwork to take effect of just one doctor's note being enough to get someone approved and streamlining it that way. It'll still take at least a month or two. And until then, the universal basic income will give that person the floor that they need to survive. It won't kill them outright, especially with, and most people want this, a good quality single payer / universal healthcare / NHS system. But again, another one of these huge uses of universal basic income is the fact that when it's talked about the concept of, well, what if a company goes under? How are the employees supposed to take advantage of that right of refusal, of the right to buy the company as the first offer? Guess what? If universal basic income exists, then they'll be able to see the downturn and save that up, so that they indeed can then in turn turn around and take that immediately and take that offer, buy it. Okay. Without that, there are going to need to be other programs. And this is another element of liberation and of freedom of universal basic income, is the ability to save up. It is the ability to walk away from a job that's abusive. In that regard, it will, to a certain extent, make unions obsolete, because people, if they want to walk out from a job, they can. It won't cost them their lives by doing so. The boss wants to keep on hiring people and doing the same garbage. Guess what? People will still can either A, keep on coming and immediately leaving, or B, all of the people can refuse. And that is a huge amount of added power for workers. Because, again, everyone will be able to say no. And again, that would be a hugely empowering thing, to just allow workers to say, yeah, I can feed my family. We're not, and I am going to wait until my job treats me and my task with the respect that it deserves, with treatment. So, again, to me, it really is critical for mechanization. It really is critical to me for, as I've discussed in previous videos, of getting rid of unnecessary work in terms of people right now in quote-unquote human services and aid agencies, just kind of feeding off of the homelessness and desperation of poor people as a problem. And it'll allow people instead to move on to the concept of somewhere between a 10 to 20 hour a week full-time work schedule. And in turn, with that, still having a sizable number of people paid employment, but overall of living more balanced lives. Again, The Conquest of Bread, which was published before 1900, that's when this theorist suggested that the 10-hour work week was possible. We're over a century past that now. We're actually about 120 years, 130 years past that. So it's time, to me, that we actually get to that phase. Reduce those number of hours. Let people have a more balanced life. And enjoy as we get to the future together. Shalom.